Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ivy Manor Music Show. This is your host, Mr. Brian Goff, bar manager here at Henry Hotels in beautiful Bar Harbor, Maine. I also handle all the live entertainment at our incredible outdoor venue, the Ivy Manor Inn, located at 194 Main Street, downtown Bar Harbor. I am super excited to have this next musical guest join the Ivy Manor Music Show. She's an incredible singer, songwriter, and acoustic guitarist as well. She's been with me all 4 seasons at the Ivy Manor Inn in some capacity. She recently also made a big move, and we'll get into that story in just a few minutes. But with all those things being said, Madison Young joins the Ivy Manor Music Show. Madison, how are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me. It's when I heard about this podcast, I've just been so excited to get on here and talk with you. So I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I've got a number of things I want to discuss with you, so let's get right to it. Before we get into this big move that I just mentioned, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you're from, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I'm a Manor. So I grew up in Ellsworth and born and raised and lived there until I went off to college. I went off to school to USC where I went for music business and decided to do a minor in songwriting at the time. And yeah, I've been songwriting since it feels like forever. You know, grew up doing theater and singing in shows and stuff, and just found that playing my guitar and singing covers didn't quite cover it for me. So I started songwriting as well and found that love there. So tried to continue it on into my adulthood. So so I went to college, then I moved back home for a little while. COVID happened, and was really grateful when I had a connection with your family member, and was really grateful when she linked us up and I could start playing down at the Ivy Manor. And now you said 4 seasons, right? I can't believe it's been that long, honestly. And then big move that you mentioned, about a year and I think 8 months ago, moved down here to Nashville to try and hone this songwriting thing and do the artist music thing, so it's been a whirlwind, and it's been a long time coming to like music things all coming together, but it's been really exciting the whole way.
No doubt. Now, you said USC. Are we talking University of Southern Cal, South Carolina?
Southern Cal. Yep.
Wow. So you went from Ellsworth to Los Angeles, California. What was that like?
Ooh, it was hard. So firstly, USC does this program where they, if you don't get into the fall semester, you get into the spring one. And so that's what happened for me. And they encourage that I do my study abroad. If I ever wanted to study abroad, I should do it in the first semester before I joined USC. So I actually went from Ellsworth to London, did a semester there, wow, and then to LA. And weirdly enough, London, I was fine, because I think it was like the short time frame in my brain, just kind of, it's a little vacation, it's no worries. But then when I went to LA, it really hit, and it was such a cultural difference, weather difference, people difference. You're going from Ellsworth, which is like 5,000 people. Maine's not even like 1 million people, or maybe it's close to that. Whereas LA is like 5 million people. It's just totally drastic. But I think like it's like any college experience. There was a lot of growth finding yourself, and it led to a lot of songs. So, both good and bad ones, plenty of those. So, very grateful for my experience there, and also big learning curves for sure.
Absolutely. A young lady like you going from Ellsworth to LA, that's got to be intimidating on some level.
For sure.
Once you get through that move and all the things that go along with that, it probably made moving to Nashville a piece of cake, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. I thought, and also like, when I moved out here to Nashville, the move when I was 24, that's very different than when you're 18, And so like within weeks of being here, I just fell in love with this city. You don't have anywhere else that I know of that like there's music in every place you go into. It doesn't matter if it's a bar, a store, a museum, like there's music everywhere. And it's, growing up not having that much exposure like to live performances and stuff, because 20 years ago there wasn't a ton of like live music happening around Ellsworth, at least. It's just been such like an amazing, like, wow, this is fantastic, this is what I want to do. I'm so grateful to be a part of it, you know?
No doubt. I've been to Nashville at least 3 times off the top of my head. You just said it. I'm walking down on Broadway.
Hmm.
Seems like every other pub and music store and coffee shop's got somebody in there with an acoustic guitar. They all sound phenomenal.
Yes.
So yeah,
Well, and that's part of the reason why I moved here is my professor at USC. When I was graduating, I was like, what do I do now? I don't quite know what to do with music. It's such a industry that doesn't have a blueprint of what you go and do if you like want to become a musician or whatever. And she said move to Nashville because it's going to be like getting another degree because everybody is so fantastic. You by like whatever what is it, osmosis, there we go, like you become better because you're hearing so much amazing music all the time. So I've definitely seen that improvement in myself over the last year and a half or so.
absolutely. Now, was this decision to move to Nashville solely based on your musical career? Or were there other factors as well?
Pretty much. Musical career. And then I so that same professor, um, when I'm not writing and recording music, I'm working for her. She has like her own music company, so I'm her operations person, and so we have events here 2 to 4 times a year. So it's coming down here quite a bit anyway. So that kind of has some influence, and honestly, moving to LA really broke my like Manor capacity to handle the cold. Can't do it anymore. So like definitely the weather was a big factor in moving here too.
No doubt. I moved back to Maine 6 or 7 years ago now. I lived 10 years down in Florida. I was just outside. It's very, very cold. It's about 10 degrees out there today. My weather app said feels like -6. Even though I've been back for 7 years, I still haven't quite
Yeah, that's brutal.
reacclimated. Yeah, so I hear you. Warm
Yeah,
weather's a good thing. That's for darn sure.
that's for sure.
So you've been out in Nashville at least a couple of years, to my knowledge. How would you say your experience has been so far? And what are some of the best things you like living out there?
Oh, it's been really great. The people here are so friendly, and like the music is ample, as I've said, and um, for for me, LA felt too big for me personally, but this is kind of it's a nice medium-sized city, so it's a little bit, you've got your cute little houses alongside your skyrise apartments. It's kind of fun in that way. So it's been really great living here. Highlights. Honestly, one of the big things for me, it's not like a moment, but just kind of something I'm taking in is because everybody is moving here for music or is here for music, like you run into some of the biggest names or people that work with the biggest names all the time, and everybody is very friendly, is very casual. An old roommate of mine, he tours with Sierra Farrell, who's a huge bluegrass artist right now, and like if I had said that if I had said that like 5 years ago, knowing that he's played on Jimmy Kimmel, like I would have been like, "Oh my gosh, you know that person?" And now it's like, "Oh yeah, that's just like my friend, no big deal." And so it's been kind of cool to humanize, I guess, this like really daunting imitate or intimidating industry. So that's been a big one. And then also just I've played a couple shows down here as well, and that's been so validating for me to be able to make connections with these amazing musicians and also know like cool, like I'm doing it, I'm here and I'm doing the thing. So that those moments have definitely been a highlight for me as well. Yeah.
That is so cool. That actually leads me into one of my next questions. I did a little research. I know that there's a lot of big name musicians that live out there in Nashville. My notes tell me Keith Urban, Tim McGraw, Jason Aldean, Carrie Underwood, Miranda Lambert, Dolly Parton, and somebody named Taylor Swift herself, I read, lives out there in Nashville. Have you ever run into any of these people, and if so, what
I,
was the experience like?
you know what? It's probably a good thing that I haven't run into them, or at least Taylor Swift. I would probably be a puddle on the ground. But I have been to my fair share of shows or like invited like last minute shows like Carrie Underwood was playing at the Grand Ole Opry and a friend of mine worked for the radio station and she was like, "Hey, come on down." I had no idea she was playing. Walked in, you realize it's Carrie Underwood and you're like, "Oh my goodness," you know. Um but and then Keith Urban the other day just played randomly at Nashville Airport just in the lounge. I don't it's really interesting how like casual and chill it is, but no, it's probably good because I fangirl too hard. I'd be a mess.
Well, you're new to the area, so I'm sure sooner or later we'll hear a cool story about something of that nature. That's for sure.
They say if you're looking to run into them, that you should go down to Franklin, which is the southern suburb of Nashville. That's apparently where all the rich people are at. So I should just start wandering around there, I guess.
No doubt. Um, in terms of your guitar playing, what age did you start playing guitar, Madison? And what was the inspirations and chain of events that led to you wanting to play this instrument?
Yeah, I've been playing since I was 7. Um, and my I don't I didn't grow up like in a musical family, but my great grandfather who's passed on now, he was alive when I was a little kid and he played piano. And I had I've been singing since I could talk, so I was really passionate about music and I really wanted to learn. And for some reason the guitar grasped me, but my mom said, "Hey, look, your great grandfather knows how to play piano. Let's have you learn with that first." So I started learning with him when I was about 5, and it just did not. You see this here? Yeah, I don't. I clunk. You know, I did not stick with the piano whatsoever. But you know, I got through my 2 years just to kind of say like I'm doing it. You know, and then my parents got me a pink guitar when I turned 7, and I started taking lessons for that. And it very much started with learning how to play like Taylor Swift songs, you know. I've been a big fan of her for forever. And then, you know, you evolve over time into way past that and then writing your own stuff. So I would say though that as soon as I discovered songwriting, guitar playing kind of went on the back burner. So I'm not like I know my way around the guitar. I can play, you know, I play these shows, it's fine, but some of these guitar players out there shredding it, I can't do that. I did not have the patience or the work ethic for that, I guess, but maybe someday. We'll see.
You're still young. From where
That's
I'm
right.
standing, you play a great guitar, so don't sell yourself
Thanks.
too short.
Thank you.
You said guitar playing started around 7, singing started way before that.
Yeah.
When was that point in time in your life where you know, I mean, at that age, you know, you don't know, but I'm sure your parents and all these other people that you were singing to, um, heard your singing and discovered that you had a great voice. About what age was that when they thought that you had a great voice and you could have a career in music?
Um, that's a great question. I did like I was just always doing the things together, guitar and singing, as soon as I could, you know. Um, Started doing musical theater stuff when I was, I think, 10. Um, so I think the whole time, I think we knew something was there, in terms of like I can carry a tune, whatever. Um, and then Ellsworth did this talent show, if I remember correctly. And it was put on at the high school in their brand new auditorium at the time. And they had invited some middle schoolers to try out for this talent show. And so I think I did this, I think I was in 6th grade, and I went up, I auditioned and got in, and then played White Horse by Taylor Swift because that's all I knew how to play. Taylor Swift was all I knew how to play. And yeah, this is bringing me back. I've not thought about this for a while. When I finished and I got off stage, I was like, I had so many people coming up to me that were just saying how great I had performed the song and done it justice and stuff. And so that meant a lot for me because before then, like, I loved singing and I loved being out and about just for the pure love and joy of it. But then hearing like it connect with other people and then we could start a conversation around it, and that was just amazing for me. And I think that's a theme of just kind of my general music journey, is like a lot of it is about the personal journey, but a lot of it's also like I need to connect with other people because that's such an important part of this whole thing, you know.
Absolutely. Well said. I've been doing live music at the Ivy Manor Inn. I came in at the right time, was hired by the company that I work for, Henry Hotels, shortly thereafter, which came from COVID. They never used to allow outside amplified sound in Bar Harbor. COVID came. Town wanted to keep people outside. That's what led to the entertainment license. Our owner, Peter Hastings, put me in charge of the music and the entertainment. I was excited about it because I've always loved music, and I've managed other establishments as well that has had live music. I started with about 12 or 14 musicians that first season, but my goal was to build a deep and talented roster, and I literally went looking and recruiting and asking and passing out business cards. And one day I just put on my Facebook page, if anybody knows any musicians, please refer them to me, and I'd love to talk to them. Well, my younger sister reaches out and says, Madison Young. I send her a Facebook message back. I said, who's Madison Young? Turns out you're my niece Abby's babysitter. So that led to our relationship, and ever since then you've played at the Ivy Manor Inn in some capacity. I'm just curious how you met my sister and how you got that gig as a babysitter for my niece Abby.
That is wow, that's a big story. So I first job was babysitting, and I first gig was babysitting for Abby's dad's ex-wife or whatever. So anyway, so through my very first babysitting gig when I was 7th grade, I met Abby through babysitting for Abby's dad, and then met met your sister through that, and then just started working for her. It was just this whole convoluted series of events, but I've known her and Abby for however old Abby is now, like 12 years, something like that.
Oh yeah.
So it's they've seen me grow from middle school awkwardness to adult awkwardness, but it's been a fun journey. Yeah.
I've got a cool little story about most of the musicians I've met. They all have their own cool little backstory, and that first year, like I said, started with 12 or 14. I've got over 70 musicians I can call for a gig now, and I could just spend the night telling all the stories about how I met you guys, and it's just really cool to have all these different unique stories about how I met you and make up the Ivy roster what it is today. So that is so cool.
I was not to like cut you off or anything, but I was really glad when she suggested me, because I had been, it was like COVID-ish times, and so I had been playing and performing up until COVID, but then it was like a year and a half or 2, I think, before you started going, and so I was really missing playing, and so when you reached out and were like, send me some of your stuff, I was very nervous. I was like, I have not played in like 2 years. The music I have out right now is not like really indicative of what I do if I'm playing out there, right? But fake it till you make it, and I'm so glad that we connected, and like it's been great. So
it has. You've certainly were one of our featured artists the first 2 years while you were living here in Maine. The last 2 seasons, we've had to get a little creative. You typically do come home from Nashville at least once or twice a summer, it feels like. Once on a vacation. There always seems to be a family event because you come from a big family. One gig sticks out to me, and I'd like you to tell our listeners a little bit about it, was that creativity was on full display when I had called you to ask when you were going to be back in Bar Harbor. You had said to me that you were going to be back in Bar Harbor for only about a 6-hour period. And when you said that, it didn't really make sense to me when you first said it. And then once we got talking more about it, lo and behold, you're taking a cruise. This cruise ship happens to be porting in Bar Harbor for a 6-hour period. I said, is there any way we could pull off a gig, get you off the boat, come play the Ivy, then get you back on the boat? You thought it was possible. You made a lot of calls to your family. They were certainly a big part in that making that gig happen that day. I had one of my staff waiting down on the waterfront in their vehicle to transport you to the Ivy. And then also when the show ended to get you back down so you get on the tender to get back on that cruise ship. Tell us a little bit about that gig. It seemed like a lot of coordination on your part. And what all went into all that to make that gig happen?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I think that's my favorite gig I've ever done because it's just crazy. You know, who does that? I do, I guess. So my family told me that we were going on a cruise to Bermuda, and it, funnily enough, was stopping into port in Bar Harbor on the way back to Boston because Boston is the original port. And I asked the cruise ship if I could get off in Bar Harbor so I could just get off and play. And they said no, I had to go back to Boston. And so it was like, okay, well, I've been to Bar Harbor a million times. I'll get off and I'll walk around or whatever. But like, I don't need a vacation there, I've been there. And so when you reached out and asked, it's like, well, yes, I have 6 hours in Bar Harbor where I'm doing nothing. Let's figure this out, So what ended up happening was because I was here in Nashville, I flew to Boston with my guitar, and I think I had my guitar, I think my microphone, but it was a pretty light setup, and went on the cruise with all those things, and then got off the cruise ship with my guitar and stuff, and my Nana, who I love her so much. She is my roadie. She comes to almost every show. She drives me, helps me set up. It's a whole operation. I would not be able to do it as successfully as I do without my family. She had actually asked a friend of hers who plays gigs in Millbridge if she could borrow his mic stand, his cables, his amplifier. So she got all of his gear, drove it the hour plus from Millbridge to Bar Harbor. Then your crew picked me up at the boat launch, brought me up. So I met her there. We got everything set up. Finished the show. I think I went a little over because I was just laughing and talking with people. And then I realized how close it was to getting back on the boat. So we quickly packed up, put it all in the car. You guys drove me back down to the boat, and I gave her my guitar because I was like, I'll be back here in 2 days, so, you can take that. Got back on the boat and left. And you know what? It was so funny because when I got back on the boat, half the people I ran into had actually sat and watched me play that day because they also were like, I'm on a cruise. What do I do? I'm going to go listen to live music, So I made a lot of friends that afternoon,
You must have been back on the cruise ship and people were like, is that girl we just saw?
Yes, literally. I think I had a couple people be like, hey, I didn't get a chance to give you a tip, but I see you here. Here you go.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, big shout out to your grandmother. She couldn't have happened without her.
No.
She's certainly, even when you're onshore coming to a gig, I notice she helps out quite a bit. I also notice your two younger sisters help out quite a bit as well. They seem to know your setup, know your gear, how you like things. Typically when you get to the Ivy Manor Inn, everybody wants to say hi and talk to you. Meanwhile, sisters and grandma are working behind the scenes to get everything set up. Talk about the role your sisters play a little bit in your gig days.
They're they were the all three of them, my nana and my two sisters, have played a role in my shows that I didn't know I needed until they stepped up to help me with it. Um, Coming in just on a bare basic level, bringing in the guitar and the amplifier and the speakers and the stands, it's a lot, And I remember the first time I came in, like my car was full to the brim type deal. And so just on the basic level, having hands to help was amazing. But Aiden, my youngest sister, has really, both of them have stepped up, but she is really locked into, okay, this cable plugs into this speaker and it goes into the guitar because this is how this works. Like she really got into just kind of the mechanics of how things work. And so I don't really even need to tell her how things get set up anymore. She's like, I got it. And she does it. And both of them are interested in music in terms of like Haley plays guitar and Aiden loves to sing and dance, but they don't, they're science and math people. That's what they're off in the world doing. And so it's just really funny to me that they have found, pretty much in the beginning out of necessity because I just needed help, but over time I've gotten more comfortable setting things up. I can do it alone, but they've also found this interest in helping, I think. And it's also just been nice because then it gives me I weirdly have quite a bit of stage fright. I don't know if it comes off when I play. I don't think so, but I do have quite a bit of stage fright and also love performing. It's weird. And so them setting all that stuff up allows me to talk to people or really lock in and focus on it's gonna be okay. You're fine. Look, you have your set. You're ready to go. Drink your hot tea and your water, and your voice will sound okay. So from both a physical logistics standpoint, they're amazing, but also just from my own, diva-ness, it's been helpful to have them.
Yeah, for sure. Some of our other musicians who I've had on the show have mentioned that stage fright as well. They seem to, have that fright go away once they get through those first couple of songs. Would you say that's the
Yeah.
case with you as well?
Yeah, I think it just always takes a little bit of warming up, and I've never had I've had mishaps, I've messed up a song or my voice is cracked or whatever, but at the end of the day, nothing bad has happened, it's an irrational fear, for me. And so I think it just takes getting through a couple songs to remind yourself it's okay. At the very worst, I've got you by the bar. I can look at you and be like, okay, I know you, and my sisters are there. At the very worst, there's a couple people I know cheering me on, so it's fine. It's fine.
Absolutely. You mentioned something earlier in one of your responses to my questions. It was actually one of my questions. You've been on some songwriting retreats in your lifetime. Tell us a little bit about what goes into these retreats. Is it more or less just like a summer camp, if you will, and while you're there, you're just going to classes and learning about songwriting techniques and things of that nature? How's that work, Madison?
Yeah, I love that you called it a summer camp because it does kind of feel like that sometimes. So each retreat is different depending on the host, but the company I work for, it's a week long, and there's 30 people total that come in. Everybody's auditioned or applied to come in. And yeah, in the morning, there's classes. In the afternoon, people get paired off into writing groups and they go write a song. And then in the evening, they all perform the songs that they wrote that day. So it's kind of crazy to be you have 3 hours to go write a song and then now you're performing it for everybody. But it's amazing to see because A, over the course of the week, people get better and better and better, And B, I think sometimes as a creative, we're overly precious with our work and our ideas. And, we'll work the same thing over and over and over and over again for, you spend 10 hours working on something that makes a 1% difference. And sometimes you just have to say, it's good enough, get it out there. And so it's really freeing for people, I think, to have that space to be like, there's no expectation. You had 3 hours to write a song. Just get up there and play it and say it's good enough, you know? So yeah, and it becomes very, a week with the same 30 people and you're writing together all the time. It becomes very like, you know, I have friends that I met on these retreats from 2021 that I still catch up with like daily or weekly. It becomes like a little family. So, um, and because I work with this company, I haven't had the chance to participate wholly in a retreat. But every retreat I tried to sit in and write in a session, or I get up and perform or something. And so over the course of the past 4 years, I've probably done a whole retreat, but kind of broken up. So, but I've definitely seen my writing and performing improve over time just because of that experience too. So it's been
Very
cool.
cool. Very cool. Um, I always ask our talent and musicians that we have on the show about their musical influences in life. I've known you for 4 years. You even kind of said it earlier. Taylor Swift is probably right at the top of the list in terms of influences for you. I know of at least one Taylor Swift concert that you actually attended live and in person. You were overcome by emotion at such a high level at this show that you actually shed tears that night, assuming they were tears of joy. And I'm just curious, what part of the show or what song or what chain of events happened during the show to make you, need a full box of Kleenex?
Oh my gosh. I promise I'm not like a crazy fan. I just really respect what she does. Okay. I Yes, so that I've seen two of her shows. That show in particular, I cried 3 times, and the first time was her song Marjorie. And is about her grandmother passing away. My grandmother had just passed away. It was just a symbiosis right there. And then the second and third song. Second one was All Too Well, which is my favorite song of all time. And it was just this combination of always wanting to have seen her perform that song, But the third one was the most random thing. I think it was Fearless. It was one of the songs. No, it was You Belong With Me. So not a sad, heartfelt song at all. But I brought Aiden with me, youngest sister. And I was there, we were watching the show, I was in it, and I turned and I look at her, and she was just belting and dancing her heart out. Like, she was having the best time. And to see your baby sister just, like, really immersing herself in the moment and, like, having this full moment of joy, like, I don't know, it got to me. I was like, that's my baby sister, So I started crying for her I don't know. I'm very sensitive, I guess. I don't know.
Well, a lot of people I've talked to that go to these shows, have their own moments during her show.
Yeah.
It's a powerful show. I'm assuming this was the latest Eras tour that
The
you were at.
Eras tour, yes.
Yep. I saw so many reels on Facebook as I was just waking up in the morning and checking things out. And, these shows are incredible. One of my best friends has a daughter who's 12 or 13 years old. He took her to a Taylor Swift show. He's not per se into Taylor, but he told me at the end of that experience, of all the concerts he's seen over the years, it was certainly a top 5 concert for him.
Yeah.
And of course, his daughter absolutely loved it as well. So she's an entertainer, she's a talent, she's won the awards, and she's still going strong. So it's great that you have her as an influence, because it's a great one to have. That is for sure. Now, what I know about Taylor Swift, she's got fans. And these fans are called Swifties. They're passionate. They come in droves. They come in packs. They're ready to party. They're ready to dance. They're in unison. It's almost like a tight-knit community. What I've noticed about you, Madison, on a lower level here up here in Bar Harbor, Maine, you have a local following as well, which has led me to name your fan base Youngsters. I have youngsters coming by the Ivy pretty much on a weekly basis asking when you're going to play. I get phone calls to the Ivy Manor in main line asking to speak to the bar manager, again asking me when Madison's coming to play. So this is a real thing. They share a lot of the same characteristics as these Swifties. They come in packs. They come ready to party. They come ready to sing. They've got on a certain style of clothing as well. I'm curious to know, have you developed any youngsters out there in Nashville yet, Madison? And if so, how have they taken to your music so far?
I that's amazing to me that people do that. First of all, like I know I've played a couple shows where people come up and been like, "I saw you last year," and I came on down. Like that's just, I'm so grateful for that. I think I've made a couple here down in Nashville. Now, granted, these youngsters I've also become friends with, so who knows if it's a biased reaction or not. But yeah, very supportive and. Yeah, I think the music I play down here, because Nashville is pretty much songwriting based, is all original music. So it's really nice to have people connect with the work that is solely like, oh, this is my heart, bearing out there.
Right.
So that's been cool. And I play some original songs up when I'm in the Ivy Manor as well. And so it's always fun to me when somebody comes up and they comment on an original song, that. Like, I love playing covers. I love it and will do it forever. But there's something about, like, your song really resonated with me. I'm like, thank you. Okay. I'm really, really glad to hear that. So,
And that's one of the reasons why I love your live show so much. Obviously, you play a lot of these great recognizable songs that we all hear on the radio, but you incorporate a lot of your own songs that you wrote yourself into the show as well. I'm curious, how many songs have you written in your lifetime, Madison? Do you have a record out yet? Are there plans to release a record? And where are you at in the songwriting process in today's day and age out there in Nashville in the year 2025?
yeah, I hundreds of songs I bet I've written. Does not mean they're good. But you have to, what is the quote? My songwriting professor says this quote that it's like you have to write all 100 songs. 90 of them are going to suck, but 10 of them will be awesome. You have to get through the 90% to get to the top 10%, right? And so, yeah, hundreds of songs. I released music in 2020, and I'm very proud that I released that music, but it's a little bit different than I would probably like to release now, just because you grow and change as a person and a creator. So I am in the studio. I've been in the studio for the last 6 or 7 months now, and I'm going in next week to finish a song. And so I'm definitely going to release that this year, and my hope is to record 5 to 6 more in the next, pretty quick. Or finish them up because we've started recording those, and and get those released by the end of this year because it's been too long. I've said I'm going to release more music for a long time and haven't done it, so this is the year that it's happening.
Very cool. Wow, 100 songs. That's quite impressive. Of these 100 songs, I imagine they've been written from your lifespan in music, if you will. What are some of your favorite songs and biggest hits, if you will, that you've written? And what are some of the meaning and backstories of these songs that you've written that you love so much?
So my favorite song, which I'll play today, I don't know if you've watched the podcast, you know that you play music at the end. So my favorite song is the one I'll play today. It's called Letter to My Hometown. Kind of fitting. And so that one was about my move from Ellsworth to California. I think we all have our first time leaving home, some sort of complicated relationship with it. For me, it was I really loved home, but I also wanted to see what was out there in the world. And it led me to being a little hasty at times and whatever. So this song is just kind of about that transition and realizing when I was gone kind of realizing how much home meant to me, you know? So that one's my favorite. I have another one that will come out this year that I wrote last year called Fishbowl. And that one is just a lovely love song, you know, and really just getting into the specifics about being with somebody that you really appreciate and who really appreciates you, you know. And then I have this fun one. I always close out my shows at Ivy Manor with this one called It's Just My Luck. And that one is just a fun bop. I belt, people dance, and that one is just, you know, it's just my luck to fall for the wrong person. Oh well, you know, it's just kind of little tongue-in-cheek, you know, relationship bop song. But while those are my favorites, I am currently on, and I think this is why it's taken so long to release new music. I'm currently on this journey of trying to figure out what do I want to say, like what's my message to put out there. And I think because the person-to-person connection is so important to me, like focusing on these details that everybody experiences at some point is really important to me. But then also trying to say things, trying to talk about the big concepts in like a familiar way, and just kind of get people talking and thinking a little bit. So that's been a challenge, I will say. Trying to write some bigger messaging songs has been a challenge, but when I'm able to do it, I'm quite happy with that. So we'll see what comes over the next year or so of music being put out there.
Very cool. In terms of playing gigs in Nashville, like I said, I've been there at least 3 times in my lifetime. I remember seeing a gig at an establishment called the Wild Horse Saloon. Have you been down to that venue yet, or is pretty much your experience has been down on Broadway?
I have not been to the Wild Horse Saloon, and I'm wondering if it's still around. Do you know?
I just know the downtown area. I'm not familiar. I know Broadway. I know the big bridge that goes over the water to the stadium. Yep. Probably not too far from there. Is about what I know.
I have not been to the Wild Horse Saloon. I'm gonna have to look into that one. But honestly, no. So Broadway is great for the big bands, the covers, the late night partying kind of vibes. But you'll get up in East Nashville, there's quite a few like restaurants and bars that do little local writers rounds. And then there's just kind of peppered all over town. So the round I've been in most often was in Midtown at this place called Central Barbecue. And it's like literally like a restaurant, and like a barbecue restaurant. And then on the second floor is a lounge performance space. So yeah, so if you're coming down to Nashville, the Broadway is great for the touristy big band like partying scene, but check out like the smaller venues kind of peppered around, because you'll see more of the acoustic solo guitar, maybe a duo type set.
Right. Is it tough to get gigs out there with so many musicians coming to Nashville? I read Nashville was one of the largest growing cities in the United States. Seems like a lot of people are heading that way for music. I have a musician that plays the Ivy Manor Inn only once a year. I met him the first season. He was working at the Side Street Cafe. A musician by the name of Sash Mace. Like you, when I get him back here on vacation, I certainly get him booked at the Ivy Manor Inn. But he's just another musician off the top of my head that has a similar story to you. They have a passion and love for music. They want to get better as singers and songwriters and see what happens with them from a career standpoint. With all those things said, with as many people that are out there trying to play music, is it tough to get gigs out there?
Well, first of all, I have to say, I worked at Side Street every summer in college, and I do not know Mike, and now I need to reach out and try and connect with him, because that's crazy. But yes and no. So yes, being there are so many people, and it's so many people are so good. that it's a little, I hate to say oversaturated, but there's so many people that it is hard, but at the same time, the reasons I've gotten my gigs were because a friend of mine was playing a gig, so I went and just watched her play. And then afterwards, I went up to the host of the round, if it was a writer's round, or the host of the venue, and was like, hey, just wanted to let you know that I really loved this, and really appreciate that you guys do this, and blah, blah, blah. And so just making a genuine connection, going up with a genuine appreciation rather than like a networky. I don't like the networky, but if you're going up and you're actually appreciative of what they do, people do recognize that. And so, yeah, all the gigs I've gotten down here have just been that person I connected with, the host of the round. We followed each other on Instagram, and then they'd message me and be like, hey, I have an open spot. Are you free? You want to come in? And so yes, but also no, because it is a very like friendly town, and people want to support each other. So you just have to go out there and meet the people and support other people. Show that you're cool, so that way they invite you to join the hang.
Right. Sounds like there's a lot of opportunity out there as well. I know Sash has been out there for a couple of years. I'll send you his Facebook page.
Yeah, great.
And perhaps maybe you guys could connect and see where he's playing, see where you're playing, maybe compare some notes, because he moved out there about the same time you did. And like I said, I see him once a year. I surely get him booked at the Ivy. He always puts on a great show, like yourself as well. I always like to ask this question to our musicians who have played the Ivy Manor in Madison. And I'd like you to tell our listeners a little bit about your experience playing there. You seem to be really enjoying yourself when you're up there on stage at the Ivy Manor Inn. Like I said, you have a large following, not only from a family standpoint. It seems like you got a big family, but all these youngsters that I talked about earlier. Tell our listeners a little bit about your experiences there for the first 4 years and what makes it so enjoyable playing there.
I love it. It's my favorite. Like, it's always consistently my favorite gig to have, because it's, first of all, it's just so lovely being outside. Like, being outside, if it's warm in the sunshine, it's not always warm, but around the fires, and you get the people that are staying at the Ivy Manor come and sit down and listen, but then you also get people walking by, because all the beautiful shops and stuff are right there too. And the waterfront's not far, so people are wandering and exploring. And I've played songs where like little kids will stop and like just stand there and watch me, and so then their parents stand there and watch me too, and then they'll move in, and it's fun to get all these people coming in that maybe they were planning to just like go check out Cools and Moose or something and do their thing, but instead they're like, oh, I'll stop for like 5 minutes, and then often they sit there for a lot longer than that. And then I try to do about a 5 or 10 minute break about halfway through, and I get people coming up and just chatting with me, or I'll walk by and somebody will snag me and we'll start talking. Like, I went to lunch a couple months ago with a girl I met who came and sat at a show at the Ivy Manor. She was like, I live in Nashville, and we connected and we got lunch a couple months ago, So I love that it's such a great atmosphere. I love that, there is a bar, but people aren't getting drunk and going crazy. Like, they're there to listen and chat, and I can play, I can play some Sheryl Crow and Alanis Morissette and Taylor Swift, and also my originals, and then also some songs by artists people know, but the songs they haven't heard of, and it's just, there's a lot of freedom, in what I play, and people generally appreciate it no matter what. So, I think that's it. There's a lot of freedom to it, which I really love, and people are very supportive, which I really need and appreciate. So it's great.
Absolutely. And a lot of our other musicians have echoed those same sentiments. People are there for the show. At the end of each song, you're typically getting an applause. Mm-hmm. People are really into what you're doing. It always seems after your show, you're bombarded by about 8 or 10 people who want to say hello, talk to you, let their daughters meet you. I've seen some pictures getting taken with you as well. So it's fun to watch, and you know, I'm a big fan of music in general. The fact that I'm working as much as I do, yet I get these live shows every day. It just makes it so enjoyable to go to work. You said it earlier, being outside. We only get so many days in the year up here in Maine where we can be outside and it's comfortable, and yeah, it just adds to, you know, the overall product that we're putting out there with you guys, with music and the environment, the downtown, the weather, the inn as a backdrop. That's behind me, so I don't ever really kind of look behind me all that much.
Beautiful though.
But if you're from the street and you've got the gig going on, you've got the inn there and the backdrop, you got the ivy up the walls, you got beautiful landscaping, perfect grass. You add it all up, and it's just, yeah, it's a great venue to play at. That's for sure. Madison, we're going to let you go here in just a minute, but before we do, would you be so kind to give our listeners a sample of what you do in terms of singing and guitar playing, and give us a preview of what they can expect to see at the Ivy Manor in this upcoming season?
Sure. Okay, let me just grab my stuff. I'm gonna cough for a second, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so this song is the one I mentioned earlier, Letter to My Hometown. And it's original. Let me just, there we go. Okay, cool. Hold on. I know I'm, okay, cool. I wrote a letter to my hometown that no one ever needs to read. I guess I'm sorry for how I left. It took me time to see all the shops down on Main Street where my cell phone didn't work, and the potholes in the road they never fixed and just got worse. The parties and the football games, the auto store where I was raised. I'm working out how I feel about you now in this letter to my hometown. In my letter to my hometown, I'll tell you all about LA and the traffic in the afternoon, and how the seasons never change, how I can't find any sea glass on miles and miles of beach, miss my dad in our garage and the smell of gasoline, my sisters and her stupid fights, my mama hugging me goodnight. I missed it then, but I see it all now in this letter to my hometown. And I'm not asking for forgiveness, I'm just trying to find some peace. And it might look like I've moved on, but still I'd like for you to say that I don't have to stay in my hometown, where I'm not sure exactly who I want but I'm sorry for how I left. It took me time to see.
Wow. Thank you so much. That is such a beautiful song. I love hearing you sing. I love hearing you play. As much as I'm pulling for you to make it out there in Nashville from a little bit of a selfish standpoint with you all the way out there in Tennessee, I don't get to see that as much as I used to. But Madison, anytime you're home in Maine, you'll always have a gig at the Ivy Manor, and that's for darn sure. Folks, this is Ivy star Madison Young. She will be with us on a limited basis this year, but when she's home, we try to get her to play the Ivy Manor in as much as possible. We haven't locked down any dates quite yet, but we are working on that as we speak. When we do get her booked, we'll surely put that out on our social media, and you can come and check out her gig and enjoy the day. Madison, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm so thankful for you. And I want to personally thank you for your contributions to the Ivy Manor Inn over the last 4 years. Good luck to you in Nashville, and I can't wait to see you this summer.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everybody watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I can't wait to meet you at the Ivy Manor Inn.
Guys, this is Brian Goff, bar manager, Henry Hotels. I'm here with Ivy star Madison Young. This is the Ivy Manor Music Show. Thanks for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.